well into March Madness. And of course, players' draft stock is going to go up and down according to how their performance is in the NCAA tournament. On today's episode, I want to talk about a few players that's stock that nothing but went up since the start of the NCAA tournament. We're going to get to all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to talk today about players whose draft stock rose in the NCAA tournament. Some names that, of course, I think most people are going to be expecting to hear. Some that's not. First one I want to talk about is Derik Queen. When you look at Derik Queen out of Maryland and what it took, like when you look at him, day 2 of the round of 32, Derik Queen hit a game winner that absolutely was crazy. And Derik Queen really has really demonstrated a lot of what NBA scouts have already appreciated about Derik Queen, the motor that he has, right? The fact that he was projected initially to kind of be more towards the right outside the lottery. I think that Derik Queen is absolutely going to be undoubtedly one of the highest risers in this, to where not only will it be a lottery pick, I think that there's a chance that he may be a top 10 pick in this draft. Derik Queen just has the motor. He has the footwork. He has a lot of things that you look at for as well. Now, there are some limitations. His defensive game leaves some to be desired at times, even though he's a very active defender. Also, the fact that he's a below-the-rim big, when I think comes down to that, a little bit undersized at 6'10", 246 pounds. But overall, like, his motor is just going to have him be one of those players that, to me, outside of the big shot making ability, the ability that he also has to project as a three-point shooter at some point. Don't know if he's going to be like a high-volume three-point shooter, but he has the ability to do that. The blocks, the steals. Derik Queen is going to be one of those players that you're going to trust that he can maximize on whatever potential that you see him in, not only because of the motor, but the mindset that he has, right? And I think because of all of that, like the way that Derik Queen has performed, it's been amazingly well. And you look at players after like Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, those type of things, and what Derik Queen has already done right now on leading a team to the Sweet 16, the game winner that he hit on top of that, it's major. And while, we're in a league that, the big man, depending on the type of big man that you are, and he may be more of a mixture between the new and new school and old school style bigs. Listen, he's not the typical big man. He's a player that I think is going to be able to be a floor spacer when it comes down to it. And the ability that he has as well to put the basketball on the floor as a big, that's what's going to probably separate him enough as well, right? And so, the defensive projection for him, we'll see there, right? What happens with him and that three-point shot. If you think he can turn into at least a semi-reliable three-point shooter, that's going to be big there. And look, listen, not every big needs to hit three-pointers in the modern NBA. That mid-range game is more what I would like to see Derik Queen develop for a pick-and-pop player, those type of things. But, hey, I think that Derik Queen has a great upside for in the NBA, and he's going to definitely rise up. The next guy is a guy that hasn't been talked about a whole lot with these drafts. That's Nique Clifford out of Colorado State, small forward here that just has so many of the tangibles and intangibles that you look at for in a type of player like this. Like, I think when it comes down to it, right, with his team, he was on the other side of that buzzer beater hit by Derik Queen when it comes down to it. But 6'6" wing, has a really good mid-range shot, right? He gets and finishes around the rim really good. He can hit a three-point shot at a decent rate as well. I think this is another guy that, I'm not going to say that he necessarily moves highly up into the lottery or something like that. We'll see where it goes for Nique Clifford. But this is a guy that I really do like potentially in this draft, right? Especially if you need that productive wing. Yeah, a little bit on the smaller side, but I think we're seeing more and more players be able to thrive at 6'6", being out on that wing. 19 points per game, 9 rebounds, 4.5 assists. This guy has the motor. And the benefit that you get from him is that he is a senior, right? So he's going to be able to come in and probably be more NBA ready than some of these guys. And for some of these playoff teams that are teams that have solid rosters that maybe just miss out on the playoffs, I think that he's going to be able to thrive in that. If you have a really good point guard as well, Nique Clifford has a really good upside with that he's going to be. Great athlete. He's versatile in what he can play. Whether he projects to be a small forward or shooting guard at the next level, we'll see what's going to happen to that. But I think he's really going to thrive as a role player in the next level, but a really high-level role player potentially. So I do think he's going more towards the end of the first round, but I definitely think his stock has gone up quite a bit with his performance in the NCAA tournament as well. The next guy that I want to talk about is John Tonje. I believe is how you pronounce his name. This is a guy that I'm not gonna lie, didn't have on my draft board at all. Probably would have popped up on there before the when I go heavily into my draft bag in the offseason. But out of Wisconsin, 6'5", 218 pounds, another senior, 19 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, efficient player as well when it comes down to it. And the thing about him that a lot of teams could like, especially if you're looking for a player that can contribute right away for you, is the three-point shooting. 5.9 three-pointers per game at 38%, which is really decent there as well. And this is a guy that I think as well, he was a redshirt season in Missouri. He's in his 6th year of college eligibility, so he better be ready. And he transformed himself into a really solid role player at the NBA level. And again, I think that when it comes down to it, he's also set Wisconsin's record for scoring in a single NCAA tournament game. I think this is a guy that if you get towards the end of the first round, you're looking at somebody who can contribute right away for you. And I think that's important as well in the NBA. The next guy I want to talk about, Walter Clayton Jr. out of Florida. Now, Florida, I love Florida. It's one of my NCAA teams that I do consistently root for. It's been that way for probably about 10 years, if not more now at this point. So maybe I'm a little bit jaded on this one, but Walter Clayton Jr. with the Florida Gators, another senior, 6'3", 195 pounds, averaging 18 points per game. But this is another guy, when you look at it, scored 23 of each of the first two tournament games for Florida as well. 38% on 7.8 three-point attempts per game, hitting that at a really good rate. Again, the thing that I'm looking for is players that have skill sets that translate right away to the NBA. And I think that he has that, right? Again, another kind of end of the first round pick for you guys. But I think he makes a lot of sense for some teams that could go there as well. And roster building is hugely important in the NBA now with the second tax apron, things like that. I think this is a guy that could garner a lot of interest. Next guy, Tyrese Proctor out of Duke. Now, shouldn't be too, it is what it is, right? He's been shooting the ball crazy right now in the NCAA tournament, and you got to give him credit for that. This is a guy that's probably helped his stock a whole lot as well as another kind of first-round pick there. Junior, 6'6", 183 pounds, but 12 points per game. The shooting, like I said, has been ridiculous, and that's probably helping him a lot in a case like this. Look at the last game against Baylor, for example. He went 7 of 8 from three-point range. That's 87% from three-point range that he did. He was 6 of 8 before that in an NCAA tournament game. This is a guy that I do think can rise up some draft boards as well. He's going to, he was projected to be a second rounder, more towards probably the end of the first round if he continues to play this well in the tournament. It's a guy I like a whole lot here as well. Next up, Igor Denman. Now, this was one of my guys coming into the NCAA season that I had pegged to look out for, right? Not necessarily for my team or anybody like that, but just a guy that I think can offer a lot at that point guard position. And some mocks did have him slated to go kind of in the top 10 to start. He was a guy that a lot of people wanted to look at. And I think that he hasn't lived up to all of that, right? But he's a freshman, very young player on top of all of that. And I think that's going to be one of the things that benefits him. What he's shown, especially in the NCAA tournament, is a guy that has legit size at 6'9" guard. He's incredible as a playmaker as well, right? The only knock on him really has been his three-point shot, 28.1% from deep. But I think when you see players like Josh Giddey at the next level, things like that, those other big guards who don't necessarily have the most consistent three-point shot but can hit it at some time, usually when you're a non-shooter as a point guard, you have to be really quick, right? And he's not necessarily that either, but I do think he's a solid athlete that is still going to go be somewhere that's in the top half of the draft lottery, right? I think there are going to be teams that are definitely willing to bite on him, and I think he's really lived up to that a lot as well. The next one I want to talk about, JT Toppin, Texas Tech. I love JT Toppin's game, and I think if you're one of those teams that's picking, if you're picking right outside the lottery, JT Toppin's probably going to be one of those first names that you heard called outside the lottery. I would not be surprised if he only goes maybe 2 or 3 picks outside the lottery, if that. You look at him, he's a sophomore, 18 points per game, 9 rebounds, 56% shooting from the field. The three-point shooting leaves a lot to be desired, but he doesn't take a lot of them. He understands who he is as a player defensively, block shots-wise as well. He projects to be really good at that next level in the NBA. So he's a guy that I definitely think that his draft stock's on the rise up, and I do think that he's going in the in the teens, but maybe right outside the lottery, depending on how the lottery board ends up shaking up. He maybe can go a little bit higher than that, but I definitely think he's a guy that you definitely have to look at and take notice of. Another guy that I want to bring up, Braden Smith here out of Purdue, another point guard here. This is another guy that I think ultimately when you look at his skill set, you can see where the NBA comps come in at, right? He's a guy that, he's solid in a lot of areas, maybe master of none when it comes down to it, but you look at his stats sheet stuff and ability, right? 16 points, 4.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 43% shooting from the field, 38% shooting from three. As a matter of fact, for his NCAA career over 3 years, he's a 39% three-point shooter, taking four of them per game. This is a guy that I don't know where exactly he's going to go. I do think he's going to go in that first round as well. And I think that if you look at him, right, it makes a lot of sense. He's second in the entire NCAA in assists. If you need an on-ball creator for you, whether it's off the bench or maybe with some opportunity to turn into a starter for you, I think a playmaker like Braden Smith makes a whole lot of sense for a lot of people. And then lastly, VJ Edgecombe. I mean, listen, let's come down to it. He's going to be a top 5, top 6 pick, right? VJ Edgecombe is his tournament has been nothing but outstanding for him. It's nothing but strengthen it, right? He hasn't hurt his draft stock at all, really. And that's really what you want to look at in a case like that. You're looking for people who aren't hurting themselves, but are really kind of highlighting what they do well and what NBA teams are looking for them to do well. You look at his games in the NCAA tournament. Loss against Duke, which does suck, but 16 points, 6 of 12 from the field. He went 1 of 5 from three-point range, not really helping that too much. But he averaged basically 15 points per game in his NCAA tournament before it ended. I like him, man. That's all I can say with that one. I like him. I think that he is a player that is going to still go high up. His defensive upside, what he does as a two-way player, if you believe that offense can round out for him and you have a really good development, VJ Edgecombe is going to be a hell of a player for you, going right outside that top 4. And I think that's what it comes down to, man. This is a really, really good player. And he's helped himself. And so that's really what I look at it for, right? So that's my thought process. You guys can let me know how you feel on that. If there's anybody you feel that's left off the list that should have been on it, I think overall, like, this is going to be this draft class is really deep. And while some people kind of the luster wore off it a little bit of people, not necessarily thinking it was as deep as what they necessarily thought it was coming into it, I disagree with that. I think this draft class is going to show themselves to have a lot. I think you're going to be able to get NBA starters. Now, what level is varying, right? But at the end of the first round, you're going to get some NBA people that ends up starting a lot of their career and having long careers at the end of the first round. These next 2 drafts are really, really deep. And I think this NCAA tournament is proving it, and especially when you look at some of the players as well that kind of shock some people. Now, on the flip side of that, we got to talk about some people that actually hurt their draft stock a little bit. And one of the people that I want to talk about is RJ Lewis Jr. out of St. John's. I mean, unfortunately, when it comes down to it, man, he did score pretty well, right, when it comes down to that. But I think when you look at overall, the fact that he struggled and the way that he struggled, the fact that he got benched by Rick Pitino in the final 5 minutes of St. John's loss, it really does point to that. He was 3 of 17 from the field, and he just couldn't get going. And when you feel like that on the biggest stage, I definitely think that that's going to be something that people look out for. Now, maybe in one-on-one workouts and stuff like that in the draft, some people even think that he may have worked himself out of the draft, right? Especially being one of those fringe players. We'll see what happens there, man. And I think when you look at it as well, Rick Pitino talked positively about a lot of those players after that loss, and Lewis Jr. was not one of those guys. So he may end up being somebody that has to go through and find his way to the NBA as an undrafted free agent, my personal opinion there. And if that's the case, like, I still see upside. Like, make no mistake about it. Just because your stock goes down in the NCAA tournament because of it, and even if you do have to eventually find your way going through the G League or a 2-way contract or something like that, I mean, maybe he stays for his senior year, right? He's only a junior, but I think overall, like, if he does go in the NBA draft, he did average 18 points, seven rebounds per game on 43% shooting and 33% shooting from three-point range. If he does go, I think that, a team could find themselves a heck of a player as an undrafted free agent. We just got to see what's going to happen there. Another player, Hunter Dickinson out of Kansas. This guy, I think when it comes down to it, his whole career at Kansas really kind of went left and didn't go up to it. He didn't live up to expectations. Kansas didn't live up to expectations either when it comes down to it, right? They were upset by a 10-seed Arkansas, in the round of 64, so that's unfortunate for it. And he did not show up at all in that game. He went 4 of 13 from the field. So I think that this is another guy that, he looked like a potential first-round pick. We'll see, right? He may end up being one of those guys that has a very solid college career that really doesn't amount to very much at the NBA level. And if that does happen, we'll see. But he may be another guy that has to go out and find his way, through maybe being an undrafted free agent, or maybe a team takes a shot. The second round is always kind of a crapshoot, right? Now, with the draft being this deep this year, maybe it's not as much of a crapshoot. We'll see, right? But hey, overall, that's another player that I think definitely hurt their draft stock. Next up, Boogie Fland out of Arkansas. Ah, man, this guy, listen, a freshman though, right? So he has the opportunity to turn back. But when you look at his 2 NCAA games, he won a combined 4 of 15. 4 of 15. That's just not going to cut it, man. You can't shoot 26% in the NCAA tournament as a rookie and it helped your draft stock. It just wasn't going to be there. He definitely hurt his stock a lot. And I think that unfortunately, especially when you're under a coach like John Calipari and stuff like that, Boogie Fland was one of those recruits that Calipari really heralded, and you know what Calipari has done with point guards, right? He ranked as the 22nd best player in the nation before that, but his lack of size, the lack of athleticism, it really hurt him as well. And I think that he did initially establish himself as a first-round pick because of his ability to get to the bucket, but I think that as it ended and how bad it ended as well, on top of that, the hand surgery also, man, we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. I think that this is another guy that if he goes, it may be towards the end of the first round, but he'd probably do very well returning back to school, in my opinion. Another guy that I hate to see that actually hurt his draft stock as well, that is on my team, Kasparas Jakucionis, KJ, out of Illinois, right? I know I murdered that name. Turnover machine. The turnovers absolutely killed him. 6 turnovers at each of Illinois' 2 games. It just, unfortunately, that's going to absolutely hurt him. Only 2 assists against Kentucky. As a matter of fact, the 6 turnovers against the Wildcats, 3 of 15 from deep. KJ is a player that has tremendous potential, but I definitely think the NCAA tournament has hurt that luster that was on him a little bit and wore that off a little bit. And a team that's taking a shot on him, he's probably, if he goes into the draft, he's still going to go first round, but I definitely think he's going to go a lot lower than initially expected. He was initially projected to be a top 10 pick, but now he's going to fall out of that for sure. And, we'll see what happens, man. He's going to fall in the draft, I do think, unless he goes through those one-on-one workouts that are really good. Still had a solid NCAA season, right? He had moments in games where he absolutely showed out, but the turnovers, the lack of athleticism at times, those are going to be things that people absolutely look to hold against him, but you also can't deny 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 44% shooting from the field. He's a solid guy, almost a steal per game as well. Very young, 6'6", legit size, 200 pounds. But I do think that KJ has definitely hurt his draft stock quite a bit. But you guys can let me know how you feel on that as well down below. That's my time. Thank you guys for turning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything NBA related. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.